Our next panel is going to get right into that. We have Ms. Nirupa Shankar, Joint Managing Director, Brigade Group, as the moderator for this panel. Ms. Shankar has spent the past 14 years of her career overseeing the group's hotel, office, and retail portfolios. She has successfully conceptualized multiple award-winning F&B outlets. She is also an athlete and has competed in marathons as well as triathlons. Joining her on stage are Mr. David Udell, Executive Vice President and Group President, Asia Pacific, Hyatt Hotels Corporation; Ms. Deepika Rao, Executive Vice President, New Businesses, Hotel Openings and Corporate Communications, IHCL; Ms. Priya Paul, Chairperson, Apeejay Surrendra, Park Hotels; and Ms. Ranju Alex, Chief Executive Officer, South Asia, Accor. Please give them a round of applause.
It's amazing to see this wonderful panel, and I just wanted to ask David how he's feeling today. It's usually one woman and all men, but today David is the lucky man. So David, how's it going?
So I'm definitely the luckiest person. I pulled the great card when it comes to panels, so I'm in good company. I'm the thorn amongst the roses. So we also acknowledge that we're the only thing that comes between happy hour, and so appropriate for a lifestyle panel. Anyway,
we are the happy hour. This is going to be the happy hour.
That's true.
Okay, so honestly, when I got the topic for this panel, it took me a while to sort of figure it out and understand the topic quite fully. The topic is, when everything is lifestyle, does it mean anything anymore? And I guess today, every brand from budget to ultra luxury claims to be lifestyle. And in 2024, the lifestyle hotel market was valued at around $84 billion. And that is set to double by 2023 to about $166 billion. So last night when I was trying to decipher the, when I was talking to a very experienced hotelier, I was telling her about this new Indian brand. It's not new, I would say, but it's an Indian brand that's come into the market. It's got a 3 to 4 star room size, but it's a 5-star product with a name lending itself to a budget category hotel. So I'm not getting into the details, but it's a riddle for everybody to solve. So I was telling this person that, listen, customers are getting super confused because they are seeing a 5-star product with a 4-star or a 3-star room size and are paying 3-star rates for it. So I asked what could be the potential solution, because it's neither budget, neither is it luxury. And she said, why don't you call it a lifestyle hotel? You know, so everybody and everything seems to be branded as lifestyle. So my first question to you all is a lifestyle hotel just a category that's neither here nor there, neither traditional, nor luxury, nor budget? A hotel you put in the other category? And if not, how do you define lifestyle? So perhaps we can start with the gentleman.
No, thank you, Nirupa. I think, this word lifestyle is really kind of overused and applied, very liberally to a lot of different hotels. But I think the most critical part of it is emotional connection. Is that when you go there, that you feel something which is meaningful, you feel something that is relevant, significant, sort of has this connection which is different than others. It could be through the design, it could be through the programming, it could be through many different aspects of it, but at the end of the day, it's got to be something that resonates meaningfully, and it's more than just a place to stay.
Got it. Deepika?
So I think I'll pick on what you just talked about a bit earlier. So in Indian hotels, we have brands across all the segments. So I think we can interpret it 2 ways, my attempt at doing that. One is that each brand no longer is going to just remain functional. Like David said, they will have to build that emotional resonance with their core customer persona. So if you look at the Taj for us, that's across multiple formats, right? So there's palaces, there's safaris, you have the landmark city hotels. So how do you build that emotional connect with your consumer? And that really means you're speaking to the lifestyle choice of your key cohort. Now, if you look at it the other end of the spectrum, which is ginger, it sounded very much like the example you were talking about earlier. The brand was earlier extremely functional, which meant bed, bath, and shower. When we reimagined ginger in 2019, the whole idea was India had changed, affluence had, people were exposed to more brands, especially international brands. So we realized that you need to be more aspirational to our target consumer. And most importantly, we can't be trendy. By that I mean that if you're going to say in ginger being unconventional and vibrant is your core, then that has to be from your guest room to your communal spaces. So I think that's one interpretation of lifestyle. It should exist across each of your brands where you build that emotional connect. The other way to look at it is a lot of people talk about lifestyle as any brand that's not a cookie cutter brand. For example, again, if I just use IHCL, we have a platform called Selections. So in Selections, it's a group of properties that are unique in terms of provenance, design, food, address. We recently opened a hotel in December on the Banaras, the Ghats. 250 feet frontage just makes that the unique feature about it. So for us, Selections as a brand is a collection of unique properties across these parameters. So that's another way of looking at lifestyle. If you're a non-cookie cutter brand and you speak on one of these particular parameters, design, food, culture, and in India, it offers you a lot of opportunities for that.
As someone who's lived through a lot of those changes in words, so I don't like using the word lifestyle. And when we started reconfiguring and repositioning our hotels in 1994, the word of the day was really boutique hotels or design hotels. And I think pretty much that has now come to call this lifestyle, but you can have lifestyle kitchens, you can have bathrooms and all that. So I don't know how that means as a definition. And I think for us, it was really about creating culture and community and being reflective of Indian contemporary culture. And the way we have done it consistently since 1994 is to use fashion, food, music, the arts and design to communicate that brand value and the brand to everybody. And of course, we've demonstrated that in multiple hotels. And for us, it's also being flexible in our identity in the way that that culture is expressed. So it's not cookie cutter, even though there may be quite a few of those hotels. Each one has its own individual identity. And I think that's really important in a lifestyle hotel. So whether it's 2-star or 6-star, there's a voice of the hotel. And I think that's what needs to come. And for me, it needs to be individual for each property. And how do you scale that? That's another part of the conversation.
Yes.
I think taking a cue from what you said, Nirupa, it is indeed a borderline, loosely used word, the lifestyle bit. In our world, we are just going in for our debut in India with a lifestyle brand called the Rosewind. And I think it's going to make waves from the first looks of it. For us, lifestyle means personality. It defines the personality of the hotel, which starts with great designing, ends with great community and culture and vibes around the hotel. We don't really fall in the trap of defining it as a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. What defines us is the personality of the lifestyle brand. Our guests believe in those vibes, those values, the community feeling. And the one common thread in all our lifestyle brands is great F&B. That takes a lot of our space, not just physically, both revenue-wise, the activations, the programming. That's very, very defined in our lifestyle brands.
Great, thank you. So what I'm hearing is lifestyle can be community, it can mean wellness in some cases, it can mean sustainable and eco-friendly, it can mean design, it can mean affordable. Now, since you're talking about ginger, which we'll get to later. So before, we just knew traditional and boutique, right? So why have another category of lifestyle? First of all, just to give you a point, the global hotel market is, say, valued at, say, $2 trillion, okay? Of that, lifestyle represents only 5 to 7% of the market, this lifestyle branded hotels. But new development pipeline, lifestyle brands are accounting for 20 to 25% of new development pipelines. So if it's only 5 to 7% of the market and you have so many fragments of economy, should we not just come up with other categories for hotels? Because otherwise the remaining 93% of the pie has traditional or boutique. So here, whether you're a luxury brand like Six Senses or you're I would say a more budget brand like Moxie, everybody's calling themselves lifestyle. So how do you address that in terms of then within lifestyle, you have lifestyle budget, lifestyle eco-friendly, lifestyle sustainable? Anyone, Priya, you can take.
No, so as I said, it's like an overused word and no one really understands what it means, right? And I could be so for many people it means having a beautifully designed, you take a top designer, you design it, you put the scent, you put the candles, and it becomes like that. But I think if you really want to truly be a lifestyle design hotel or boutique property, you have to build the community, you have to build the culture, and you have to, for us, it's making sure all the people live the values of the brand. And that is something that has to be done consistently, creatively, and all the time. And so I live the brand, my team lives the brand, and that's how each hotel gets its identity. So I think it's not just slapping on some paint and putting some cool furniture in the lobby. That's not what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, Priya, you were actually one of the first to define this boutique lifestyle category, I would say, in the Indian market. I won't use lifestyle because you don't like the word. You used it long before it became fashionable now. And Park has always also done a lot on the design front, on the art front, and on the F&B front. So now with so many brands coming in and calling themselves lifestyle, and everybody is doing experiential now, how are you staying ahead? Like, what's the strategic direction you have given your team?
So I think it's about the people driving it and the team members and making sure, and I say this very often, that my team has creativity in their DNA and they do it consistently. I think it's also giving power to the younger managers to speak, to act, to create new things. So there's always sort of innovation happening. Our vision statement is leadership through differentiation. So that's what like 4,000 people do, right? So it's driven, it's reinforced, and I think that's what's important for us, and that's how we will continue to differentiate and continue to be ahead of the game.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
I just
David.
wanted to add, this is really for the Taj team, is that, we talk about emotional, the power that emotion plays in lifestyle, but I know that the Taj Mahal Palace last night is a true luxury, as a Grand Dam, true luxury hotel, but talk about emotional connection that was made last night. It was beautiful, really.
Thank
and
you.
I think,
Thank you very much.
So I think, we should give them a round of applause. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think of course, there's so much attention to detail and so much effort that was put into that. And I think that's very illustrative of what it takes to make something, to create an emotional connection. When people are so jaded, they try, especially in the upscale market where people travel all over the world, see so much, but to be able to create that feeling, you guys did it. So congratulations.
Thank you very much on behalf of everyone at the
Absolutely. I think that welcome was truly touching. So hats off to your team. David, I'm going to continue with you. Hyatt has scaled lifestyle through acquisitions like Two Roads Hospitality and brands like Andaz and Thompson and Dream. And Hyatt has one of the highest concentration of lifestyle rooms among the majors. So at scale, how do you prevent lifestyle from becoming standardized? As Priya was also saying, every property has to be unique. If you have to grow at scale, how do you prevent this from becoming standardized?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think the key word there is, sort of the dangerous word is standardization, because when you acquire these brands or you try to integrate them into your systems, the natural tendency is you want to standardize. But in standardization, you don't want to take away personality, and you don't want to sort of bring things down to a common denominator that doesn't really resonate with people. So the key really is, is how to turn up the volume when it comes to differentiation and, and really celebrating the uniqueness that each brand has. And I think, Hyatt was on a big journey last year where we committed ourselves to really being brand-led. And it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort, but we realize that if the brands really resonate meaningfully with people, that it will indeed create preference for stakeholders. So it's we just have to be careful about the S word, the standardization
so brand standards are slightly flexible now?
I think brand standards are I think brand codes are important.
Sorry, what's that?
Sort of brand codes, like how we bring it to life, in terms of practical, connection with guests. But we just have to be careful not to start to sort of rubber stamp things.
Right. So actually, just continuing, we just signed 2 hotels with you, but in the traditional format. One was a Grand Hyatt and one was an extended stay brand, the Hyatt House. But are you seeing stronger appetite for lifestyle business or leisure and more traditional hotels in India?
No, look, I think, it's first of all, thank you very much for your faith in us. I think, look, we've got 20 million people that come to India. The potential is huge. And, one of the silver linings, I think, of COVID was that Indian nationals started to travel domestically and understand just what a cherished sort of, locales and cities that exist here. And, within these places, there is a great need for immersive experiences that resonate, meaningfully with people. So as we go around, there's great demand, especially a lot of Indians, nationals that travel overseas. They experience lifestyle hotels. They want to bring that. They want to have that here. And I think, as you said, the food and beverage component is critical to it. The programming is critical. So it's, in some respects, easier to do a standard business hotel, but when we go into this lifestyle, it takes a lot of work, right? A lot of focus, a lot of discipline to bring this differentiation to life.
Okay, thank you. So more business, so more traditional formats then, I would say. So Deepika, moving on to what you were talking to me about Ginger. So I remember Ginger from its old format. So when I was looking it up, I was surprised to see that Ginger is also called a lifestyle brand. And of course, now the term is lean luxe, right? So are Indian consumers actually asking for lifestyle in this segment? Like, I would think when you walk into a Ginger, you want the power shower, the comfortable bed, and a good breakfast. Or are we, as an industry, sort of pushing it to them to sort of help increase our rates? Or sure. What is it that the customer is looking for?
Sure. So, like I said, back in 2018, 2019, when we thought of reimagining Ginger, clearly we were looking at where the consumer had moved and the kind of, it's also linked to India's macroeconomic environment, right? The country was also growing in stature, definitely the largest growing economy among the top 5, which then translates into the fact that Indian consumers are exposed much more. And clearly everybody wants to be seen in a certain place. Everybody definitely at any price point wants their hotel to be better than their home. The whole idea is that you're checking into a hotel. So if everything in your home is upgraded, appliances are changing, you're now wanting a 42-inch TV screen. So that also means the hotel needs to look at it differently. And like I said, every brand, and I think Priya attributed it a little while ago, you need to define your core personality and be consistent with that. So if Ginger has defined it as, when we say lean luxe, it's speaking to the aspiration of India's growing and largest addressable market size is actually in the mid-scale segment. Nobody wants to be associated with cheap and functional, even in this segment. Everybody wants to be in a space that I can take a picture, post it on my Instagram, right? So you want to be in those kind of communal spaces. And we had a very deep consumer insight to say the mindset here, it's not a demographic, it's more a mindset, is of extreme switching, which means I want to experience solitude and I want to socialize like that. So how can you look at your public area furniture, right? Can you build communal tables, which kind of brings people together? So that's a lot of thought that's gone in. At the same time, keeping the whole operating model in place. So it's not like the reimagination meant that the built-up area per square feet went up overnight. We still are 450 square feet to a key. So at every brand, there's a personality. People have aspiration. India is a very growing aspirational society. And the reimagination of Ginger has been extremely successful. I think Mr. Chatwal spoke about it a little earlier. We are now a 250 hotel portfolio, which reflects the fact that this is reflective of the fact that there is a demand there in the space of this kind of product. And just a little earlier to the conversation that you had with David, to do this at scale, I think all of us are in a really blessed part of the geography of the globe. Like India is the best place to actually do non-cookie cutter kind of products too. If you think about it, right, the kind of geography we have. I'm from the southern part of the country, so the coastline, yeah. Look at the kind of food, like every probably 100 kilometers, culture and food is changing. So is architecture, right? So in any of the spiritual side of it, like if you look at our property at Pilibhit House in Haridwar, which again is like a selections property. So I think India is, I think that was in one of the earlier conversations we were having, that it lends itself to be able to develop these kind of, for the want of a better word, lifestyle. But I think we as an industry are defining it like this. The consumer doesn't see these kind of definitions as much.
Correct, yeah. Correct. Did you want to add?
Sorry, I want to add. So actually a few years ago, we created a brand exactly for this aspirational tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 now, city called Zone by the Park. But understanding that in the small cities, there's this whole demand for food and beverages along with hotel rooms. So, but ours is differentiated through design, so it's very quirky and has a kind of a big city vibe, but in a small place. So it's an interesting design solution to what those smaller cities need.
So just a quick follow-up. So do you see more of your growth coming from tier 2 and 3 or the big city hotels?
Yeah, we have about 30 of those hotels now, and with a very rapid ramp up in that. And we see the people that we partner with, this is all an asset-light strategy. There are people from small towns, but they understand that there is this need for a smart restaurant, a banquet hall, kind of a fun, younger design, regardless of what you're coming for, leisure or business.
Yeah, I agree. I think India, you need the F&B and the banqueting. So sorry, just as a follow-up to you, Deepika. So we talked about your Accelerate 2030, and Puneet also talked about Accelerate 2030, which was 700 hotels by 2030. You're already at 630 ahead of schedule. And you've acquired experiential brands like Tree of Life and Selections portfolio to capture this boutique market. So same question, similar to you, to what I asked Priya. What percentage of the new business is coming from lifestyle brands versus traditional?
So I think all that credit goes to Suma and her team here. I think they're right there, yeah. So always ahead of time. So yes, you're right. The guidance was 700 by 2030, and we just did a press release yesterday on how Suma wrapped up the year. I think she's already got us to 628, yeah, okay. So if I look at that portfolio mix, we also have Avik here, who's our brand leader of Tree of Life. This is a very exciting space. We are now a portfolio of 34, and Selections is about 50. So let's just say together they're about 100. If you look at this as IHCL's play in experiential hospitality offerings. I think that also is in the luxury space when we actually looked at Claridge's collection, boutique luxury there again, which is again focused on what this whole panel has been talking about. So we've not sized it in terms of we want to be X number of hotels within 700 in this space. But I can see the rate at which Tree of Life is growing. I was just talking to Avik in the break. He mentioned we'll probably hit 50 by June. Again, that speaks to the opportunity of India. I don't think we're force-fitting it.
Sorry, just going back to the question. Lifestyle or traditional? Which are you getting more?
In terms of numbers, like just inventory, it'll always be the traditional, because the whole idea of experiential is not to be large and oversized. Like Tree of Life is about slow travel, so won't put a 50-key Tree of Life. It has to be in synchronization with nature. So we do something sub 30. So number of keys, traditional.
Got it, got it. Okay, Ranju. First of all, congrats on being on your first year as CEO of South Asia for Accor Group. I think that's a huge move.
Thank you.
I think you've taken over at a very defining moment for Accor. There's a lot happening there. Accor's restructuring and to separate the premium mid-scale economy from its luxury and lifestyle division. And I was reading that Accor is aiming for 100% eco certification by 2026, this year. So I wanted to understand who finally pays for sustainability. Is it the customer, the owner, or the operator? I know it's not the operator, so I just put that in for the mix.
I think it's a lot depends on the operator to push it through. I must say that we are very pleasantly surprised that the owner community is equally aware and invested in sustainability as much as the operator. If that happens, it's a winning combination. But today, even at the design stage, a lot of conversation happens. We were speaking to an owner last week, and he starts off the design and the hotel structure on a sustainability note. So I think if all three are invested together, that's the best combination. But I think in the end, whilst you're running the hotel, it is the operator's responsibility to make aware of what's happening in the world, primarily because we have far more visibility globally than a particular owner in a particular city. But coming to Deepika and what Priya and David said, I must share this little anecdote with you. I was, 2 weeks back, I was on a flight from Delhi to Amritsar, and I had a very normal-looking business couple beside me. So I was on the window, and the gentleman came in the middle, and the wife was on the aisle. She did not let him sit on the aisle seat. And as
Why,
usual,
she was threatened by you, or?
And as, I would like to think so. And as it happens in India, the passenger on your left or right is peering into your laptop when you open that, right? So I opened and it was Accor, and he says, you work with the Accor? I said, yes. And he rattled off all the lifestyle brands that we have in the Middle East and the Europe. And he had stayed in all of them. He could have given me an education on the SLS and the Rexos and the Hoxton, all the brands. And in my mind, I'm thinking, this is a couple residing in Amritsar, a business couple, and was so aware of the lifestyle brands. Of course, because I was from Accor, he only spoke about our brands. But the level of awareness in today's travelers in India is next level. And that's why I say India is ready for the lifestyle brands today than it was probably 5 years back.
Right. So, yes, I agree with you, but I want to just sort of go back to sustainability because you're the only one talking about sustainability today in this panel. Do you see a better ROI on eco-friendly hotels? I mean,
yes.
Where is that coming
from? The
from?
good thing about sustainability, Nirupa, is that it's evolved. It's like what AI is today. It used to be a fashionable word 10 years back. It's become a way of life for us now. With its evolvement, it's evolving. There's a lot of work that's happened also towards the cost. It's not a very expensive lifestyle to follow. It is something one believes in and wants to contribute to the world or the earth on. It's not necessarily, as was the impression earlier, an expensive one to do. So definitely, if you do build eco-friendly hotels, it's as
better
profitable or more. A lot depends on the top line, which we have a lot of conversations about.
Yes. Okay, since you mentioned the word AI, I will just sort of jump into that. I feel like AI is a bit of a existential question, at least when it comes to real estate, and we've been talking about it when it comes to commercial office real estate. A lot of people have been talking about how AI has come in, IT and IT services will disappear, the demand will contract, business demand for hotels will reduce because the number of people traveling for IT projects will reduce. So it could potentially become an issue from a demand perspective. It could lead to a demand cliff for business hotels in tech hubs. But of course, there's the other side of AI, which is making us improve our operations, helping us with revenue management, etc. So how do you reconcile the paradox of AI? If AI disrupts the IT service space and shrinks the corporate workforce, it effectively shrinks our overall core customer base. Are we looking at a demand reset for urban hotels? And how must lifestyle hotels pivot to find new guests if that is the case? And if this traditional IT sector sort of disappears?
Sure. So
and anybody can jump in after you or Ranju.
Sure. I'll make it short. It is a paradox. You open the newspaper in the morning and you read Amazon lays off 10,000 people, Deloitte lays off 50,000, whatever the number may be. And then you go to your office and you have GMs calling you saying, well, I need 30 more people, I need 40 more people, and you're like, where did AI disappear in all of this? The stage that we are in today in the hospitality industry, I think the human touch and the human interaction still rules prime. So I don't think there's going to be any change there. The word is hospitality, so it starts and ends there. We haven't seen huge shift in back of the office operations. I think all companies are still taking baby steps towards AI. How it evolves in the next 5 years is yet to be seen. Today where we are, it is definitely helping us understand our customers better, curate their experiences better, and hence the lifestyle bit comes into play. I think it will help us run our hotels more efficiently and better, but can it replace the human element? That definitely it's not coming anytime soon.
Yeah, I totally agree with with what you said, Priya. I think, look, for us, like at Hyatt, it's really about AI as an enabler, because whatever kind of work we can take out of the system, so it allows our colleagues to be able to spend more time with customers, right? Because, you know, in the world that we live in, where technology is becoming such a big part of what we do, that human touch is even more compelling, right? And even more sort of aspirational for people. And I think that, you know, as we look at future talent, right? The fact that we're in an industry where human touch is celebrated, and especially in luxury lifestyle, you know, upper upscale, there's nothing that will replace that human touch. There's nothing that will be able to replace, you know, the talent, the creativity of the chefs, like we saw last night, and hopefully you'll see tonight as well. So, you know, for us, you know, one of the things is that we want our general managers to be able to focus on their customers. So what we've done, what we've developed in Hyatt is something we call Hotel Heartbeat, which is, if you think about an Apple Watch, or you think about a Fitbit, think about putting that on a hotel. So online, real time, you're getting, you know, what is the blood pressure, what is the, you know, the blood out, you know, the blood oxygen level, how many steps you've done, whatever, and telling you, like, okay, if there's a problem, what kind of remedy can help. And we're producing that kind of feedback online, real time, on a daily basis. We're testing it, we're piloting it in quite a number of hotels now, but this is something that can be very, very helpful, that will allow us to spend more time with our customers.
Thank you. Do you want to touch on the demand bit, and will hotels be affected with the contraction of the IT industry?
I was just thinking about that actually. Just wanted to say that, you know, this happens all the time. The best way to do is to have a diversified portfolio and a presence. See, today you give an example of IT. But we are in industrial parks, which it could be a steel industry one day, it could be auto one day. So if you, from our experience, a diversified portfolio is really what hedges that. And anyway, all of us in the business of hotels are built for the long term. So, you know, it's not like 1 quarter, 1 year, one industry way of looking at it. what we do at IHCL is that we have a significant presence. When you look at corporate demand, what you were referring to, it's across. So even if you look at Hyderabad now, you have global capability centers coming in a big way. But like I said, it could be one day. I remember a time when steel was really under a lot of pressure, and we have a lot of footprint along Bhubaneswar, Jamshedpur, etc. So overall, you are able to balance it as a portfolio, whether it comes through corporate demand, weather events that happen. So too much of properties in the northern hills, then your south portfolio supports you. So essentially within each of our domains, if we build diversification by geography, by contract type, and by brands, you'll build a resilient business. I think that's the way to look at it.
Okay, just for the audience, I'll ask a couple of questions, maybe one or two more, and then maybe do a rapid fire. But if you guys want to put in your questions into the app, I'd be happy to take one or two questions from the audience as well. So Priya, just for you, we have a serious question on the war situation, and of course the good news that we have our ceasefire. But a trend that we have seen because of the disruption in the Middle East and in the Gulf, is that we are seeing some sort of a savior effect in Indian hospitality, where outbound international travelers, people from India, are moving back into domestic luxury and lifestyle hotels. People are saying, okay, I don't want to risk going to anywhere else. Let's just stay back in India and do our holidays here. So what are the trends that you've seen short term? And what happens if this sort of war situation continues for another 6 months or so? Will there be a structural shift in the hotel industry?
Well, I mean, your question was before the ceasefire, right, happened. So I think there are some shifts. It's been quite strong April for, I think, everybody. And I think we're all looking forward to a lot of domestic travel staying within India, regardless of whether there's a ceasefire or things that are calmer in the Middle East, which they need to be. I think people are still a little skittish, and it will take 2-3 more months for it to be stabilized. Airfares are still high. Let's see if they come down. That's all a factor of people doing outbound from India. So that's good news for India, and it's good news for the Far East, Hong Kong, Singapore, Bali, all those, Thailand, where Indians like to travel, Sri Lanka. So I think it's a wait-and-watch situation. I'm sure it'll bounce back quickly.
In the lounge, when we were speaking about this, I think Ranju mentioned that, every March and April, last year we know what happened. The year before that, in Q1, we had the general elections. So we all collectively concluded that March is consistent in its uncertainty, so we should budget accordingly going forward.
So I must say, for the owner community, if we do step back on the budgets in March and April, we are good.
I don't know if the owners will agree with you here, so. Okay, just my last long format question is, everybody, you open the papers and everybody's doing these massive growth plans, right? I think with IHCL, we spoke about your 700 or maybe now 800 hotels. Accor is talking about 300 hotels in India by 2030. Park is also aiming for 74 property-owned hotels. Hyatt is saying 5-fold expansion in India. Where is the market going to go? Is there going to be a glut in the market when it comes to supply? Occupancies are already at 72 to 74% as an average. India averages and are also hitting ARR highs. But with this massive new supply, are we really building ourselves into an oversupply crisis?
So look, I think that first of all, whenever we quote numbers, I think there's always some risk, and I think that for us, just to clarify a little bit, I think that for us, it's really about quality, not quantity. And we've been very lucky in India. We've been in this market since 1983 with the Hyatt Regency in Delhi. That before the Asian Games, we've seen ups and downs and sort of feast and famine and whatever. But if we look, we're so excited because now things really look very, very positive. But I think that the most important thing, at least from our perspective, is to have hotels where our World of Hyatt members want to travel. And at the same time, really trying to bring our brands to life in a very meaningful way, because we're driven, I mean, our thing, I think the most compelling thing at Hyatt, what is important for us is our purpose. And our purpose is really to care for people so they can be their best. When we talk about people, we're talking about our customers, our guests, our owners, our colleagues, and also the communities that we serve. And it sounds, I mean, balance, as we all know, right? Balancing those, priorities in order to care for those different people, it's really tough. So I think that for us, Rupa, more than anything else, is bringing our brands to life in a meaningful way that will generate preference. So if we can do that, that's the key. That's the critical thing, more than X number of hotels by a certain date.
So how will the rest of you sort of compete with that?
I think there's, no competition, if I can say that, because I think we are undersupplied significantly as a country. And if we can keep a pace of even a 7% GDP, if not higher, and looking at the growing infrastructure, I think 2 airports have just opened recently, both Navi Mumbai as well as at Jewar. And the very fact that this is going to lead to, also the infrastructure of convention space, I think that's also important. So looking at all of that, the previous 100,000 rooms took 10 years. I think the next is going to take 5 years. We're already looking at demand outpacing supply. So on a long term, I think India still is quite undersupplied. And I guess to your question, it will be the right brand for the right micro market, not so much in terms of whether, if we get that right, recognizing the right brand, I don't think this should be a problem there.
Okay. Agreed with that?
Yeah, of course I agree. And I think the India growth, growth in India has just started for the economy, for people. I think people are more aspirational, whether it's, as I said, the smaller cities. That's where the real growth is going to be, whether it's in food and beverage or hotels. And that's really where all of us, I'm sure, have plans to be strongly there. Because, yes, we've saturated the big cities to some extent, but it's never enough. So, yeah, I think you put a little dot, you can do a hotel.
Great.
Just stacking up some statistics, 140 crore people, 55% middle class, 13% out of that double income, 50 airports in the near future, existing ones, aspirations, and the skirmishes in the world which stop people from going out, like you rightly mentioned. The ease of road travels, all of that just tells us, and just 2 lakh branded rooms in the country. I think all of these indicators tell us that enough is not enough right now, and we have a long way to go.
Okay, on that note, we are good to start our rapid fire. So 1 word or max 1 sentence, okay? Yeah. So your favorite boutique hotel or boutique brand that is not in your portfolio?
That is not in our portfolio.
That's outside of your portfolio.
Anyone?
Let's start with Ranju.
For me, it'll be W.
Which one?
W. Was in my portfolio once upon a time.
That.
I like the experiential group
Okay.
from France.
I can think of this property that Suma and I visited in Havelock. It's not of a chain, but barefoot in Havelock. I thought that was very nice.
So I'm going to say it's associated with us, but it's a little bit different. We acquired this company called Mr. and Mrs. Smith a couple of years ago, which is like a luxury travel agency, and they represent about 1,000 really wonderful boutique hotels that are all over the world, and I stayed in a few in Italy that were like incredible. So that would be it.
Okay. So hotels, are they currently overvalued or undervalued?
Undervalued.
By whom? By investors or the government?
I mean investors, when you transact, or maybe public markets in your case.
Undervalued.
Right now, looking at the markets, yeah, undervalued.
Undervalued.
Okay. 1 overused word in hospitality. We'll start with you, David.
Oh, the big word is the E word is experience. Everything is about experience.
But you used it so much.
I used it, but what I did say is that it has to resonate with people. It has to be meaningful, and it has to generate emotional feelings. So that's the difference, right?
Deepika?
I got a prompt from the audience, lifestyle.
Well, I was going to do experiential and lifestyle, but now it's done.
Yeah.
Luxury.
Okay. A myth you want to bust. I'm going to start with Deepika because you seem most excited with the with the question.
I was just getting some help. Okay, so this is something I told someone before that. Okay, so this one I think is that a hotel company can only be run by a hotelier.
By a hotelier.
That's
I said the myth you want to bust is a hotel company can only be run by a hotelier.
Priya?
That small is not beautiful or luxurious.
That AI is going to take away jobs in hotels.
Oh, okay.
I like it.
Interesting.
They're all good. These are all good. I like yours in particular, but because we just appointed Vikas Chawla as our leader of India, and he comes from outside of the hospitality industry, so totally agree with you. I think this notion that standardization always drives success, I think that's a myth that
Okay.
is not true, especially in this lifestyle arena.
Great. Okay, since you brought up AI again, Ranju, I'll start with you. AI, is it overhyped or a game changer?
Overhyped for now, game changer for the future. I'll take both.
Very diplomatic.
I think it's a game changer now.
I'd leave it as an enabler.
Enabler. You're quoting outside the syllabus.
I think it's a game changer.
Great, great, great. And we finished that. Okay, is India undersupplied or under-branded? Let's start with Priya.
Both, I think. I mean,
Same. Same.
Deepika?
Both.
Same, both. We're a very aligned panel here.
Okay, our time is almost up, so I'll just end with one question. Boutique or big brand? Which wins in the next 5 years?
no one has to win. You can have them all. I think that's what the platforms are doing, right?
She summed it up for us, I think. Fair to, I think it's summed it up for most of
Yeah,
us.
I think that's what it is. It's
I think differentiation wins.
Yeah. Okay.
Same.
Okay, I asked for some controversy on the panel, got some, but overall, I think we're sort of on the same page when it comes to lifestyle and big brands versus boutique brands. So that's all we have time for. Thank you to my panelists for all those amazing answers, and thank you everybody for listening in.
Thank you so much for that interesting session.